And welcome back again to The Verdict. Mick Cornett and Kent Myers, we're here each week meeting interesting people and talking about topical issues. And boy, we have a guy on our show today who's right on the front lines of what's going on in this city.
Indeed, and since he's retired military, that's kind of a good way to refer to him, and he may find that to be the case once he's too far into his job. But Karl Springer, the new superintendent of Oklahoma City Public Schools, has agreed to join us today to talk about his job, what he's done in the past, and how it's prepared him for taking on a real big responsibility here in Oklahoma City.
A little bit of a revolving door in this position in the Oklahoma City public school system, and the hope is that Karl Springer is the guy that can provide some long-term care for the kids.
Yes, having said that, I know that is the hope. It's interesting that he was only agreeable to a one-year contract, so we'll have to kind of see how that meshes.
His views on that and why he chose that as a mode of employment here to get started. Karl Springer, the new superintendent of the Oklahoma City Public School System, is our guest today on The Verdict, and we'll be right back.
What if America had its own clean energy? Abundant and available for the next century or more, and possibly indefinitely. A true 21st century energy source would cut carbon emissions in half and do every living thing a world of good. That clean American energy exists. It's natural gas, and Chesapeake is its #1 explorer. For producing clean electricity and fueling our cars without imported oil, natural gas saves money and the environment. Proving the answer to this country's energy needs is right under our feet, and we're not running out. Clean, abundant, affordable, American natural gas. Doing a world of good for our communities, our economy, and our irreplaceable planet Earth.
Welcome back to The Verdict. Mick Cornett with Kent Myers, and Kent's going to introduce today's guest.
Very pleased today to have the new Oklahoma City Superintendent of Public Schools, Karl Springer, joining us for his first visit on The Verdict, but we surely expect it won't be his last. He did his undergraduate work at Cal State University. He did his master's degree at Northeastern State University in Tahlequah. He had 30 years, has had 30 years, and is continuing experience as a teacher, administrator, and superintendent. He has an interesting credential of having retired from the military as a colonel. He is a former school superintendent in an adjacent school district here in Mustang, and we are very pleased to welcome him to The Verdict. We're sure pleased to have you here.
Thank you.
Both to Oklahoma City and to The Verdict.
Thank you.
What appealed to you about this job, coming from Mustang to Oklahoma City?
40,000 students, just an absolutely wonderful opportunity to be able to move the Oklahoma City School District forward. The kind of support you have with the business community for this school district, and just everybody. I think everybody wants to see Oklahoma City become a premier school district. And I just thought how wonderful it would be to be able to be involved in that effort.
The urban challenges, was that one of the things that appealed to you about the job?
Yeah, it's kind of like going home, because I was raised in Los Angeles, and to be able to see a community that kind of looks like LA did, maybe 1960, 1961, to be able to see what that looked like back then, and to be able to maybe have learned some lessons from that, where the city schools and the city work together to the benefit of the kids and to the community, shared responsibility. The issues with gangs and those kind of things really aren't school problems, and they're not just the city's problems, they're our problem. And I think if we can work together, that we can manage to turn that around. The whole community, I think, in Oklahoma City is so excited about having this last piece of the puzzle come together for Oklahoma City. Once the school district is just a destination for young families, I think that last piece of the puzzle is there, and we'll see great influx of families into the community.
I'm interested in your service at Mustang. Of course, it's right next to Oklahoma City, roughly. How long were you at Mustang?
8.5 years.
So you had an opportunity while at Mustang to kind of occasionally look over and see what's going on in Oklahoma City. Did that help you?
It did. I think before that I was at Chickasha for about 5 years, and then for about 10 years before that at Norman. So I've been able to see it from various viewpoints. But the thing is, Oklahoma City really has the potential to just be able to be a sterling educational environment for students. It has great programs. It's just that we have some areas that we really need to focus on.
What are those areas?
Well, I think engagement. I think engaging parents. I think that it's really important that all the parents are engaged with the schools, that parents feel comfortable about coming to the schools, that they feel welcome. And I think those kinds of things need to happen across the board. Probably the vast majority of our schools, it's already that way. But it only takes just a few places, for us for that perception to kind of change. I want us to see a perception change here, that when we start talking about school districts that are high performing, that Oklahoma City is one of the first school districts we talk about.
I note with interest your military service, 6 years in the Marine Corps and then some additional years in the Army, retiring as a colonel. Are any of the leadership traits that you learned and practiced in the military, are they going to be useful to you in your current position?
Absolutely. I think it's about empowerment. What we're really talking about is being personally responsible. The day that I became the superintendent of this district, I became personally responsible for everything, good, bad, or indifferent, about that district. And I now feel that responsibility. The thing that needs to happen is now we put a team together and to basically empower our people so that they have the resources and the support that they need to be able to make it so that student growth and achievement is the main focus of this school district, and that there's no politics involved in that. I think every parent expects that when their child goes to school, they're going to get a good education, and the reason that they want their children to go to school so that they can do better, that the children can do better than they did. And when you look at the potential for 35 or 40,000 young people, it's absolutely stunning to think about the kind of change you could cause by having a wonderful educational program for kids. Kindergarten, first, second, and third grade, probably the most important teacher any student's ever going to have is going to be the kindergarten teacher. It's because that you learn the routines and procedures for the rest of your life about being a student. But those first 3 years learning to read, it's very important. We need to focus our resources on those years so that when the children learn to read first, second, and third grade, after that they need to be able to read to learn. And that's an important part of that. So,
what's the most important thing to look at when hiring a principal?
Leadership, somebody that's been a successful teacher, somebody that's very interested in teacher growth. I think that is just essential. Building principals, what they need to be able to do is to help teachers grow, to help teachers be better instructional leaders in their classrooms, to provide, to model those kind of behaviors that make it likely that children are going to be successful in the classroom. So that ability to help teachers grow is essential for a building principal. The other thing about it, the person has to have pretty thick skin. They have to be able to deal with a myriad of issues. They have to be calm. But probably the main thing is they need to love children, because the only reason we're here is to make sure those children get what they need to have.
One thing that was curious to me in preparing for the show, that you grew up in California, did your undergraduate work in California, and then your first teaching position was in Muskogee, Oklahoma. How did that connection happen?
Well, my mother-in-law, my wife's family moved to Oklahoma to retire, and we came back for a summer. My mother-in-law,
The reverse of Grapes of Wrath. I guess,
yeah, well, and just really liked it, you know, and my in-laws thought, well, why don't you apply for a job? So I went Muskogee. A guy named Billy Davis, he's still around. Billy was the superintendent there, and we hit it off, and that was 32 years ago, and it's just been a great kind of experience for me. I'm an Oklahoman now. There's no way I'm going to be going back to California. I really love the attitude and the people and the educational programs, and it's just a wonderful experience.
How are kids different today from 32 years ago?
I think that the thing is, the children really haven't changed that much. What's changed is the family. We see less responsibility, personal responsibility, and not only, I guess, just in the family, but just all the way around. Everybody wants to blame each other for things that back 30 years ago or 40 years ago we took responsibility for. Kids need structure. Kids need to have people tell them, you can do this, you can't do that, you know, and in a loving kind of a way. And so I think that this kind of shifting that we've had with families and with personal responsibility, and it's affected schools. We have a lot of places in this country where nobody wants to really take responsibility for the kids. And in Oklahoma City, I assure you that isn't going to be the case. I know that we take responsibility for the students already, but these are our kids, every one of them.
Karl Springer is our guest. He's the new superintendent of the Oklahoma City Public School System. More with Karl on The Verdict after this.
Home values are down in some states, but not in Oklahoma. Oklahoma's home values have increased 4.2% during the past 12 months. Unlike some states where home values have decreased as much as 20%. Good thing you're in Oklahoma. There may be real estate problems in some states, but there has never been a better time than now to buy or sell a home in Oklahoma. One of the most affordable states in the country, Oklahomans are buying and selling homes every day, and an Oklahoma realtor can show you how. Good thing you're in Oklahoma.
That land next door was a mess. Take more than a lawnmower to revive that land. I heard the oil and natural gas people was cleaning up old oil sites, and it wouldn't cost us a flood nickel. Oh yes, sir, it was quite a revival. The whole church showed up, want to make a playground for the kids. It sure is a blessing.
Wilsey, Meyer, Eatman, Tate. We're accountants. We do taxes, business valuations, estate planning, and consulting. And we're right here in Oklahoma, working with the owners of small and medium-sized businesses. Steve Wilsey and Stuart Meyer have the resources and the experience. Wilsey, Meyer, Eatman, Tate in Oklahoma City and Tulsa.
Welcome back to the set of The Verdict. Mick Cornett and Kent Myers, and today's guest is Karl Springer. He's the superintendent of the Oklahoma City Public School System. Karl, there's been a general decline in the number of students who have been enrolled in the Oklahoma City Public School System. Has that been continuing the last few years, that rate of decline, and how concerned are you about it?
It's been a slight decline the last few years. I think that it's kind of a reflection of the perception of our school district. I think the other thing that we need to be looking at is turning that around. And I think there's some economic reasons that are going to cause the Oklahoma City School District to begin gaining students. One is going to be, I think people that work in the Oklahoma City area are going to recognize that our schools are pretty good, and they're going to want to come back. I think that you can look at 40 years ago, 70,000 students in the Oklahoma City School District. Today, 35 or 40,000. I see that number going back. I think that there are going to be all sorts of economic reasons, but educationally, there's reason to come back to the Oklahoma City School District. We have good schools. All we need to be doing is probably the major problem is to turn the perception around of this school district, because the reality is that in many, many, many cases, we have wonderful things going on in our schools. Probably the vast majority of our programs are just absolutely wonderful.
Well, the perceptions are based on what? Test scores, television news, incidental conversations. How do you affect perception?
Well, I think the thing is we put the facts out there. 77% of the third grade students in March of 2008 read on grade level. One of our first goals is to have 90%, more than 90% of our third grade students reading on grade level. I think the other issues, we talk about student attendance. If you look at the average daily membership of our school district last year, 35,613 students on a daily basis were in school, with about 33,800 students actually in attendance. So that's about a 97% attendance rate. So that's pretty good, much higher than what people would think. So I think getting those facts out there, and really one of the things I'm going to be doing is going to every single school district, every single school in the district regularly. I've got 2 hours out of my schedule starting the first day of school, 2 hours every day. I'm going to be out seeing what I can do to help this program of instruction. My question is going to be to a teacher, tell me, what can I do to make this a better learning environment for the students? How can we work together to make it more likely that more of your students are going to be successful? And oh, by the way, in this class, how many of the students are not functioning satisfactorily, and what are we doing about it? What resources can we bring to come up with a plan so that every one of your students in this class are successful?
Can the business community, the economic development people like at the Chamber of Commerce and all, assist you and you assist them in attracting new business by making these numbers better, so that when they go looking for new business, they can tout that if they move their business to Oklahoma City, the Oklahoma City School District is going to be a good place for the employees' children?
Absolutely. I think the $1 billion invested in MAPS will pale in comparison to what will happen when more and more families start moving to Oklahoma City as a destination for their children's education.
And would you envision working with the Chamber in that regard?
Absolutely. I have been going to Chamber meetings. I will be working to engage the community that way. I think that there's also already a significant kind of relationship between businesses that have adopted schools. And this is unusual.
I was going to ask you that.
Yeah, it's really unusual. It is so encouraging to see the kind of support that Oklahoma City has for the schools. I mean, it is just absolutely wonderful. And I think that as the test scores come up and as the perception begins to shift a little bit, I just think that this is going to be a story that people are going to want to talk about. That Oklahoma City schools, with the kinds of things that's happened in the city of Oklahoma City with the bombing and all those kind of terrible events, this school district has the potential to be the best urban school district in the United States. And the way to get that to happen is by talking to those teachers and supporting them. Parents need to support their teachers. They need to go and they need to talk to the parents. There needs to be contact there. And we need to be able to have a great discussion about what it is that we can do as a school district to make your child be more successful. Before school and after school programs, with the kind of activities we provide, there are a whole bunch of things that are totally untapped that we could begin to do as a school district. Fine arts programs, the athletic program is fairly well documented and moving forward, but moving into fine arts, academic teams, I mean, I really think it would be neat if the academic team from John Marshall High School could go and fight it out on the East Coast with some prep schools and come back with a victory. You know, and that can happen. That can happen. All we need to do is to have faith in our students, provide them the kinds of support they need to have, and we can see that happen.
We talk a lot in this country about testing and whether or not we should put so much reliance on testing and judging the effectiveness of a teacher or a principal or a superintendent. What's your view on testing, and do we put too much emphasis upon it?
I think there's a lot of emphasis on testing, but I'm not at a point where I would say that No Child Left Behind mandates were a bad thing because of this. Education has been without accountability for my lifetime. And I can't imagine what it would be like now if we didn't have these test scores to be able to use to benchmark performance and improvement. We need to be able to be accountable. I think that it causes some stress maybe on some students, maybe on some teachers and administrators, but that stress is nothing compared to the idea of having continuous improvement. And that's what the testing is about. It's about continuous improvement. It's about improving every day and every year and seeing that our programs are providing students with the kinds of education and opportunities they need to have. We know that 50% of the jobs in 2020 that our kids are going to be going to haven't even been created yet. You know, so what we're talking about is trying to provide our students with an education that's going to be future-oriented. The kindergarten students right now, class of 2022, is being enrolled in school.
Let me ask you this. I know the degree of stress that I have when I have to do anything is directly proportional to my preparation. And the more prepared I am, the less stressful the situation might be. If the teachers do a really superior job of preparing the students for learning the material on which they will be tested, wouldn't that have a corresponding decrease in the stress on the student in taking the test?
Absolutely. And what we're talking about here and the things that we will be implementing in this district will be to have quarterly assessments. So in reading, first grade, every 3 months, a quarterly assessment at each grade level and in each subject, so that what we can do is we can monitor and change our curriculum to reflect what children are learning or not learning, and then to be able to come up with plans on a regular basis, on a shorter term basis, to help kids be successful.
Yeah.
And that's it seems really simple, but the problem is, in this country, we wait till the end of the year for the testing to happen. The test scores come back in the middle of the summer, and then the children have a new teacher in the fall, and there's never been a situation where that information got used effectively. So what we need to be able to do is to be able to come up with our own system of monitoring progress. A continuous improvement model is what I have here.
About 30 seconds left. Charter schools, magnet schools. Your father's school district is not the same as today's school district. Are these changes been for the better? Are we better off having charter schools and magnet schools and those other additions to the curriculum?
Any time that students are more successful, I really don't have a problem with how that happens. Anytime we can provide programs where students have a higher probability of being successful, we ought to be supporting it.
Let me, just in the few seconds we have left, much has been made of your one-year contract. They hire a football coach, he wants 5 years, and they hire a president of the company, he wants 5 or 10-year contract. You said you wanted a one-year contract. Why was that?
Because I want to be evaluated like the teachers. I want to have everybody understand. I have no sense of entitlement. There won't be any, there's not going to be any divorce settlement with this superintendent. I want to provide leadership for the school district and have it be at the pleasure of the school board for as long as that board wants me to be the superintendent.
Karl Springer is the new superintendent of the Oklahoma City Public School System. Karl, thanks for coming on The Verdict, and good luck. And continue to let our citizens know what we can all do to help.
Yeah, come back and tell us how it's going.
Thank you.
Kent and I will have a final word right after this.
good life comes naturally to Tulsa, where nature's beauty is matched with an eye for aesthetics. A legacy of neighborhoods graced with lawns and landscaping and handsome homes. A place that seems to have patented an ideal lifestyle. Bank First is loyal to the quality of life Tulsa assures its citizens, to the priority placed on education, culture, and growth. Loyal to builders who transform raw land into residential charm. Developers who see opportunity and add vitality to Tulsa's economy. Bank First serves both enterprise and private lives that need a loyal partner. It's how we help nurture this city's very good life. Bank First. Loyal to Oklahoma. Loyal to you.
The Journal-Record is pleased to be a sponsor of The Verdict. The Journal-Record, since 1903, the best source of Oklahoma business news and legal information.
Welcome back to The Verdict. We're wrapping up a segment that we had with Karl Springer, the new superintendent of the Oklahoma City Public School System. He seems like he's on track.
Yes, he really is, and he's very enthusiastic. He comes in knowing what he wants to do. I liked his idea that he was responsible for everything the school district does or fails to do, and he's going to be accountable. He expects the teachers to be accountable, and hope that in the long run the performance level of the students is going to increase, and I wouldn't be at all surprised to see that happen.
He has a clear plan, and he's also opinionated, and if you'll notice, his answers aren't necessarily predictable. Just when you think you know what a superintendent would say to that answer, he has a slightly different twist to his answer.
Well, he has such a varied background and a wealth of experience in a number of different areas. I don't think he's wed to any particular party line. I think he's going to approach it fresh, from a fresh perspective, and I would predict some nice results.
And they grew up in the inner city, so maybe bringing some of those perspective to his new job, again, as the superintendent of the Oklahoma City Public School System. Love you to go to our website, give us an idea about a future show, theverdict.tv. Next week, we'll have Barry Trammell on, and we hope you'll join us then. We'll see you later on The Verdict.
The preceding program was produced exclusively for the Cox Channel.